and welcome back. I know it's been a while. I fixed some of my tech issues that were um, stopping me from creating those vlogs a little bit more regularly, but other challenges seem to be on the way. I don't know yet with what regularity this experience will continue, but I think it will continue. I know some of you have been reaching out and asking me about my life and how I feel about it now. Now, because it is almost, but not quite, almost 6 months since I moved into a country and into this very beautiful home in the forest. And I have so much to tell you, but I don't want to have everything in a long 40-minute video. I think it's a little bit daunting. So maybe I'll do bits by bits over time and share some of those first experiences of mine with you and some of those things that you were asking me about. Thank you all for checking in with me and asking me how I was and also asking me questions about this life. It is so interesting and lovely to hear that some of you are interested and have questions around, I don't know, this change, I guess. And also, some of you were asking me about how I feel now in comparison to when I was moving here or when I first moved here. And I think those are really interesting and valid questions because indeed it's been 5 months now. I think we are inching very quickly to the 6 months, first half a year in this particular place, in this beautiful forest. And I would like to share with you some of those things. I think there's a lot to draw inspiration from change in someone's life. And I think there's a lot to learn from different lifestyles. And last many years now, I can't even remember, maybe 5 or so, I actually had been traveling quite a lot and frequently to countries, small towns, never really staying on the farm, but I had access to a farm for the last 12 years, so I had that experience as well. But also going away into like tree houses and coastal towns and a lot of different places like that where I could stay and wake up in a different world, so to speak. I did a very big, quite big getaway every 3 months or so with a bunch of girlfriends. And then I started to do more and more solo ones. And the solo getaways of mine were every month. For a bit, it was actually non-negotiable. I would plan my getaways first, put them in my calendar, and then plan everything else around it. And I want to say that it was never about going away, disconnecting, recharging, and coming back. I don't know what it was about. At the time, I didn't know. I am extremely curious. Curiosity is my superpower. I think without quite realizing it, I was trying lifestyles on. I was trying different lives, different places. And maybe because I didn't grow up in Australia and I didn't have any particular emotional or physical ties with any areas, I always knew that I could go and discover something else or discover more or try things on and just see what they feel like to be in a different area. This is how over time I learned that I am inseparable with the forest and I have to be in the bush. I have less of an emotional connection with the ocean, for example, but have strong connection to other water bodies. I live by the creek, which is absolutely tiny, but the frogs singing every night is just divine. And as I was traveling to those places and staying there, I still had no idea why I was doing it. I just thought it was so beautiful. Why wouldn't you go away? And I know sometimes there's circumstances in people's lives, and circumstances not only physical, like maybe other responsibilities and family duties and work. There are many other emotional challenges as well and bottlenecks that don't let us try things on. And I call it being in the mud. And there were years of my life of when I was living out my trauma and I was living in the mud, as I like to call it. I think trauma healing never stops, and I'm continuing this journey, but I don't feel in the mud. I zoomed out a lot further away from where I was, and I am more like looking at it, or so it feels. We'll see as I progress and what happens further. And in the end, very, very close to the time when I made the move, I finally kind of settled on the thought that leaving Sydney was something I needed to do. And for me, disconnect from Sydney emotionally was very hard. This was my rescue city, so to speak, running away from Russia, whichever way I did it, and then settling in the city that took me in, saw some refuge in it. So the connection was really emotional. And when I finally had this decision, like I felt it, there was a decision that I needed to leave this behind and take the next step. I knew that when I left my former partner and moved into my tiny little studio, which I loved, I knew when I moved there that this was going to be a place of healing for me. I did a lot of like dancing and body movement and crying in that place. It was just a refuge. The whole first year was actually all about that. And the whole next year was all about exploring a little bit more of who I am and that how I came to polyamory and many, many other things. And I couldn't actually travel much anymore. I couldn't afford it. And I started to make little refuges inside my place by creating more plants, by having blankets, by working with my somatic therapist even more, and working with my body. And all of that brought me to this place of safety where I could try things on again. But this time when I was trying different lifestyles on, I was embodying them very quickly. It was a different place in life, I think, in my healing. So I would try things on and I'd go, feels really good, I'm doing it. And actually, right at the beginning of 2023, around January, I remember messaging a very close friend of mine, and I said to her that this year is going to be a year of travel for me and a year of moving out. And I actually couldn't afford neither, and also had no idea what it meant. But we did get together and we put together a plan of travel domestically. And we did a little bit of it. And to be honest, that felt just right and just enough. And then in March already, I was coming here to inspect this place. I was very kindly invited by the hosts and the owners of this beautiful property here. And I came here for one day and one night, and I stayed here. And when I woke up in this house, I knew this was it. This was it. The decision was made. And when I came back to Sydney, I needed some time to sleep on it. I need to feel rested, full of, food and rest and embodied and grounded before I make decisions that would really impact my life moving forward. I already knew the answer, but I took another week or so to think about it, and this decision was made. When I started telling people about my move, that's where my panic kicked in. It all became very real, and I felt like I was making a mistake. Of course, I wasn't, and it's not about actual physical mistakes, so to speak. Not that that even exists, to be honest. We experience world through all of this. And we take world in and we have a response to it. To be honest, this is all that our existence is about, is a constant feedback loop. We take things in and we respond to it. This is just what a human is. And all the rest is our own meaning and whatever we want to make out of it. And when the decision was made and I told everyone, this is kind of when it settled, panic kicked in. It was really challenging, and I had very many very difficult nights of crying and doubting it. And I went to some of my closest people in my life who really helped me get through this, but I needed a lot more solitude. And I think I also started to do a lot of social things to get myself out of my feeling. and that's okay to escape how you feel. Sometimes it can get overwhelming, and that all of that was really a lot. And as I was getting closer to the date of moving, everything was just piling up, all those emotions, and I actually felt extremely overwhelming. And packing came. I hate packing. Packing is emotionally very hard for me. And when that was done, the whole week of the very last week before coming here was quite intense. And I even got sick, I think, as a result, caught some cold as a result of feeling so much and experiencing so much. To me, that felt like leaving home. And I don't refer to Sydney, don't even refer to the place I was living in. I think leaving my former partner where we live together, because we're so close, and still are, and leaving his family, who are so important to me, and I feel so close to them. When I finally moved here and started to unpack, this first week is just a cloud I can't even remember. I'm tired, settling, but to be honest, I was instantly well. I did not expect that, even though I should have. All those small signs of seeing how much living in nature, being in nature is really important for my mental health. And I, to be honest, think for everyone's mental health, because that's where we came from, living in the city is quite unnatural. And I don't think that there are people who are particularly city people, particularly country people. I just think we have different needs at different time of our lives, and we take what we need. And often we don't also know what we need, and we take what we know or what we have. Nothing is wrong with any of that. This is just different experiences that we have along this life that is just a journey. So my first few days, few weeks, I would say, I can't remember first days, maybe a few weeks, were full on. I felt like a lot was happening. I had a lot of time to unpack and settle. I started working straight away, which was just a little bit hard. And we started working on the farm straight away as well. We needed to plant veg in the garden and greens, because it was winter or coming to winter. It was just perfect time to do it. It took us a while to get there, and then we did all of that. And I was talking with my therapist, saying how a lot was happening, which usually feels so heavy and difficult, but I feel so well and rested. And I was kindly reminded that just looking at the sky and being surrounded by the trees and hearing birds and frogs and geckos — I've never heard geckos before moving here — all of those experiences really settle my nervous system. Just like running creek, the wind in the trees, the sound of the bees. The sound of the bees, such a childhood thing for me. And the very first things that I've learned about my life here is that this is exactly where I want to be. I think I am going to leave it at that today. I want to share with you a little bit about how this came to be and how it feels now, those first 5 or 6 months living in the country. I will come back with maybe a little bit more detail around how this house works and where it is and what I do here. Also, if you have anything of particular interest about this life or anything about myself, just let me know. It is so much more fun to make videos for you when there's a specific need or something that I can share that is of value, that can be of help. And I think I will be talking about mental health a lot in a lot of my work and a lot of my videos, and I would be really happy to also add or mention things that really matter to you. And I really hope that this is interesting, helpful, maybe inspiring. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me today. Wishing you a lot of love. Bye.